Hello everyone and welcome in our webinar about ChatGPT in online recruitment. I'm going to share my screen first. Let's see if everything is working correctly.
Do you hear us?
Do you hear us? Do you see us? Can you see the begin slides? Maybe say something in the chat so we know that all technical setup is working correctly.
Yes, I've got lots of yeses.
All right.
So I'm assuming those are positive answers that people are in touch. Welcome, everybody.
Cool. Let's introduce ourselves first. My name is Stephanie. I'm the marketing lead at Simple, and next to me stands Mark. He's one of the founders of Simple. We're going to talk about ChatGPT in your online recruitment strategy. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can always ask them in the chat. We will have some time at the end to answer them all. We're also going to launch some polls, which you can also find on the right, to make it a bit more interactive, because we're with, I think, more than 800 people over here. And we don't see you, but you see us.
We hope.
Yes, indeed. Okay, this is the agenda for today. So first of all, why should you recruit online? How do you use ChatGPT in your online recruitment? And first of all, we need to know how ChatGPT actually works. Then we're going to talk about online recruitment. You have to get your basics right before you can actually start your campaign development, of course, with ChatGPT, campaign management, and then at the end, we're going to show you how you can set up your online recruitment campaign in less than 5 minutes.
Yes, and maybe to kind of make it a bit more interactive, what we're going to do, we'll make one for one of the companies which is here with a lot of participants, which is TVH, so we'll make that there. But we'd also like to include another company. So if you would love your company to be featured here, and we'll make a campaign for you to recruit people on social media, just put the name in here. And then, okay, so we have Randstad coming. Any other names coming up here? Some people still waking up, apparently, trying to find their keyboard. Okay, and then, all right, cool, Master Plan Baloise, Synergy, Carrefour, Italy. Oh my God.
IKEA, Hotjar is there.
All right, we'll have a look at this is now it's coming. Retake, blah blah blah. Let's go for. It was a nice brand there. That let's try Carrefour, Italy.
Okay.
Let's do something risky in another language.
All right.
Okay.
Just to be very clear, what we're not going to discuss today is how to use ChatGPT for other sectors. We're only going to talk about recruitment. We're not going to talk about organic online recruitment, and just to explain a bit what we mean about that. So here you can see an organic post, and on the right, you can see a paid advertising post on Facebook. You see some differences. First of all, it's a sponsored post. It's an advertising. You will see that there is, there are lots more options with call to actions, and there is also a button to click on. And what is also important with paid recruitment campaigns, you can actually target the right people for your vacancy, which you can't with organic posting. What is also not on the agenda today is all the technical setup. I mean, there is some technical setup which you need to do before you can actually start with online recruitment campaigns. But we have some good news, because we have a Simple Academy where you can register for free, and there you will find all our webinars and white papers with all the technical setup included. Now, what do we do at Simple? Really short, we provide qualified candidates, and we do this through very targeted advertising on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also TikTok. And we do this in a user-friendly process in a software. Here you can find some numbers from us, and also some clients. And what is an important number is the left on the top. We analyze 11 million data points per month, which is really, really a lot. I'm not doing that by myself, of course. We have an algorithm behind it, but we want to make the best recruitment campaigns possible, of course. We have some good news also for you guys who are here in the webinar, because if you register today on in our online tool, in our software, then you get free lifetime access to our Simple Academy with all our resources, like I already said. If you launch a campaign, we will put 10% free media budget on top of your campaign budget. And
if you launch it before the end of the month, so let's make it's a temporary offer. You have to.
I thought it was the whole year.
No, just jokes. So that's a slight restriction there.
Yeah. And then you will get a free online meeting with one of our marketing experts.
Yeah.
So
there's a QR code to it, but during the webinar, we will be sharing that link a couple of times. So you can decide, once you're convinced of the quality of the content, whether you want to join and use the software or not. Okay?
Okay, cool. Let's start. First of all, really quickly, why should you recruit online? Well, 20% of the market population is actively looking for a job. They're looking on job boards, Indeed, Stepstone, but 80% of the market is not actively looking for a new job, but they might be open for it, and you have to reach them where they are every single day, and that's on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and maybe also LinkedIn.
Maybe just before we go on, let's do a first poll to see and check if some of you have already done a paid recruitment campaign. This is Instagram, but just look at it, and it's all social media. So Instagram, TikTok, any answer is good. So you should see that on the right-hand side of your screen. You can vote there. So quite a bit of people have done one already. That's interesting. That's a good. But the no's are catching up. Not that there's catching up to do. Obviously, every answer is the right answer. So we'll look at that. It's going to be 65-35. So 65% of the people in the webinar have done a paid recruitment campaign.
Okay.
That's good. Then we can skip some of the things.
Yes. All right. Then I don't have to convince you guys of doing online recruitment campaigns. Here you can find some numbers of the social media platforms which we use. And I just want to point out that the percentage of people that are older than 25 years old on Facebook and Instagram and on TikTok, older than 29 years old, more than half of them are older. So it's not only for the youngsters doing happy dances, etc. You can also reach your audience on TikTok.
So we agree that above 29 is old, is what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
Kind of was implied, I think. But okay.
Okay.
Right. Let's just what we want to do is kind of give you a brief introduction on AI. I'm going to just do one poll very quickly also, just to know whom of you has already used ChatGPT for recruitment. So you can have a bit of an idea on but we're going to assume, as you're following the webinar, the biggest part of the audience will say no. But it's a good mix there. Okay, so it's about 50-50. That's oh no, so now we're kind of slides. Right, we'll stop the poll there. So it's 40-60.
Okay.
Before we stop it. What we just want to do is maybe just briefly introduce and explain what AI is all about. Why? Because ChatGPT and AI are very powerful tools, but they have their restrictions, and we'll come back on those restrictions later. But I think it's important to kind of do this setup and explain what the background is. Now, everybody has been talking the rise of the machines, artificial intelligence, robots becoming as smart as people, and maybe some of you have heard about the famous Turing test, named after Alan Turing, one of the builders of the computer and the ideas behind the computer. And the idea would be that you would have a human tester who communicates on paper or through writing with either a machine without being able to see the machine, and with a human without being able to see the human. And by communicating with both A and B, if that tester C is not able to distinguish who is the machine and who is the human, that is kind of a benchmark to be seen as we have reached a pure artificial intelligence for computers being able to think, to communicate just as humans do. So keep that in mind because it's important once we go further. So that's kind of the realm of artificial intelligence. Within that, you have something which is called machine learning. You have heard, I'm assuming, those words also. Machine learning is where you start programming computers, you start programming neural systems by showing them a lot of data. And probably something I've heard before is how can you train a computer to distinguish between a chihuahua and a muffin is by showing him a lot of images. And after seeing a massive amount of images, the computer will start to understand what is a chihuahua and what is a muffin without having to explain that a chihuahua is a dog with 2 eyes and a nose, and a muffin is a pastry with blueberries. But just by providing a massive amount of data, the computer will start, through machine learning, start to understand the differences between both. And actually, one step further, which is called generative AI, is where the computer or the algorithm, based on all that data, is then able to generate new content. That could be new images, or that could be new text. And when we're talking about ChatGPT, this is what ChatGPT is all about. So just very briefly, what ChatGPT does, it, through machine learning, takes a massive amount of information together and then allows it to create new content. And what's very important to understand is the difference. Well, if you ask ChatGPT, what is the best thing about AI? It will start building words and it will start to calculate and what is the best word to come after the next word, and that's how it will build sentences. So an answer might be, the best thing about AI is the ability to, and it will start building and adding words just kind of off based on the data it has learned, and it might make a sentence like, the best thing about AI is its ability to learn from experience, tack, 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 and it can build a whole text like this. If you ask that same question 2 minutes later, it might start completely different, and it could start with different words, and then it will use the word create instead of another word, and then other words will follow. So the real power of ChatGPT is building text prompted by the user. Prompted is the question is asked by the user. ChatGPT builds text, and what it does, it looks in its massive database of learning and will then start producing text, right? But it needs context, right? This is a very powerful tool, but for those of you who know the very, very easy word game Wordle, which is something that you can play online, it's quite popular, right? Where you have a word of 5 letters, you have to choose, you have to guess actually what the word is. This game cannot be played by ChatGPT. So as clever as ChatGPT is, it is not able to play a single, very simple game like Wordle because it lacks context, it lacks the way of playing it, it has not been taught how to do that. And that's very important when we start looking at, how can we use these tools in recruitment, is that they have very, very, very specific use cases. You cannot use them for everything. And that also means that ChatGPT will fail the Turing test, because at a certain moment, you will start to understand that although it looks clever at the beginning, if you start some extra follow-up questions, you will start to understand it is not a human and it is a machine. And that's kind of as a very, very short introduction, just to kind of update you. Keep those restrictions in mind when we're going to start showing how you can use it in your recruitment. You cannot use it for everything. There's some very specific use cases, and it's massively helpful, right? So stay tuned. We are not dissing ChatGPT, but it's not going to be the replacement and the beginning of everything. And that's also why we would like to say that recruiters, to reassure most of you, right? If that's the reason why you're tuning in, to know whether you're still going to have a job. Yes, you will still have a job. You will not be replaced by ChatGPT or by AI, but you might be replaced by recruiters using AI. So keep that in mind, right? Stay tuned, because we're going to show you some tools on how to do that and how to use that. So it's nothing to be scared about. You need to understand where it's coming from and how you can use that in your own recruitment strategy. But in order to be able to do that, obviously, you have to have the setup right, make sure you have the context which is correct to do the online recruitment. And I think Steph will start talking about that.
Yes, thanks, Mark. It was very clear.
Thank you. There was some fear that I was not going to be clear.
That's true. All right, so before you can actually start building your campaign, you need to have some basics right. Here you can see the whole process from setting up, the technical setup, the development of your campaign, and then the management of your campaign. Because of course, you're paying for it and you want to get the best results out of your campaign. First of all, the setup. There is some technical setup which you need to do. I'm just going to talk about the real basics, and one of them is the funnel. This is actually all the steps that a person takes to come to an application and hopefully to come to a hire. Why you need to have this in place? Well, you are paying for it and you need to know where something goes wrong. You can get all the data into Google Analytics or some other dashboards, whatever you want. But you can see then, for example, if you have lots of clicks, but nobody clicks, if nobody clicks to your vacancy page, then there might be something wrong in your targeting or in your copy. Or maybe lots of people come to your vacancy page and they don't apply, then you also need to adjust something over there. Now, what also is important is A/B testing. I don't know if you already have heard of it, but an A/B test is actually a test that you run with only one variable. So for example, if you have two images, one of a team and one of a single person working in your company, for example, then set them both online and you will see the results coming out and which one is working best for your target audience, because it's not what you think is working best that your target audience will find it the same way. Okay, let's go further with the campaign development, because we were going to talk about ChatGPT, of course. In the development phase, you have to have some things to get in place. First of all, of course, vacancy, visuals, different versions for A/B testing, etc., etc. And for us, there are 4 key elements for a successful campaign on social media. Targeting is one of them, campaign copy, your visuals, and of course, your vacancy page, the website which you're sending your audience to. And for your campaign copy and for your vacancy page, you can use ChatGPT to help you with it. So we're going to discuss all those 4 items a bit more into detail. And the first one is targeting. How can you target on social media? Well, of course, you can target on a specific location. On the Meta platform, Facebook, Instagram, you can say, okay, I want to target Antwerp with a radius around 20 kilometers. But on TikTok, on the other hand, you can only target country-based. This is the case for Belgium. They're working on it, but it's not yet the case to target on regions in your country. The second one is there are lots of interests. Well, lots of them on TikTok. You already have lots of interests to choose from. On the Meta platform, as you're doing recruitment campaigns, the targeting options are limited. And before, you could also use data. For some who know the Facebook pixel or the TikTok pixel, you can gather some data. But it's not available anymore for the Meta platform, so Facebook and Instagram. You can only use it for TikTok. And then demographics, it's also unfortunately not available anymore on Facebook and Instagram. So you need to be creative in your advertisement, in your copy, in your visuals, all those things.
Maybe just to pick up on that, I mean, we know maybe half of you have not yet done campaigns. We are skipping here with being top line.
Yeah.
If you're interested in more details on how to do the setup, on how to do targeting with the restrictions that are in place, you'll find webinars about that in our academy, right? Mm-hmm. Which is not a shameless plug to register for the academy, but I mean, it's we will remain top line in order to kind of just focus on the interaction with ChatGPT, and maybe as a first example of briefly showing how our software works, where we have built on the data from the past, so our customers are able, when they use our software, to use for instance, let's say digital marketeer. You want to look for digital marketeer. We will then start looking in our database once you do the targeting of more than 9,000 campaigns where we have clustered. Let's say we're looking for EY, because there's some people from EY in the audience, and our our software will do a first proposal, so they will now look at the cluster of digital marketeer, but you could look, for instance, more on a product marketeer or a more general marketeer, if that's what you're looking at, and then you will build on the data from the past. You have to put a location, and then that will allow you to kind of start from a targeting perspective for the campaign, and that will then use all the still available targeting options if you would like to use our software instead of doing it yourself.
Yes. All right. Then once you have defined your target audience and selected your targeting options, then of course you need to write your campaign copy. I'm briefly going to discuss what we think that is good campaign copy and what should be included. First of all, think about what is the absolute requirement for the profile that I'm looking for. I know you're looking for someone with a master's degree and with 3 years of experience, and they need to be able to work with Salesforce, etc., etc., etc. Think about the one absolute requirement, and then think also about what's in it for the candidate, because you're targeting passive candidates that might already have a job. So you need to think about, okay, what is unique of my function or of my company, so people will click on your advertisement, because they're scrolling 160 meters on average a day, which is a lot, so that you need to pop out with your advertisement. And then avoid cliches, think out of the box. I know that's also a cliche, but you know what I mean.
Nice meta.
Yeah. Here you have an example of some bad copy, I think, and here you have an example of some good copy. You can read it yourself, but you need to be specific. Don't talk about unique environments, talk about which unique environment within the walls of Unique Abbey here. With lots of fun perks, make it specific. Is there an attractive salary? Okay, but there's also an afternoon off every Friday. Tell those things in your campaign, so people will click on your campaign copy. Now, how can you set up this copy with ChatGPT?
Yeah. So what we've done is we kind of prepared, because sometimes, as maybe some of you will know, ChatGPT is sometimes down and up. So that's why we didn't want to kind of risk ChatGPT being down. So we create some preparation here. So you make an account on ChatGPT, and then you just actually ask a question. In this case, we asked, write a campaign text for a paid advertisement on Facebook for digital marketer vacancy. As you can see, it made quite a long text. You can then ask it, for instance, to make it shorter, right? And that's what it's called prompting. So you actually tell ChatGPT in what way you want to change the text, you want to change the output, and the system is kind of so clever that it will then build onto your prompts and learn from that, and then it'll also start adapting the text. And this is something where I think that and some people have been told that programmers will start to be replaced by linguists, like people who have very good ability in language and how to communicate with systems like this. So we'll show you, for instance, some of our prompts. I think is the next slide. Yeah. So these are some of the prompts we are using, or we have learned to use in how to make the system and the text better. It's kind of diminishing returns theory. What it means is that you're never going to get the text completely perfect within ChatGPT. You might get to 80-90% of your final end product, which you can actually have generate through ChatGPT by giving these prompts, which you can just give again by once you have a base text, you start saying, okay, now format it in this way, use bullet points, use emojis, or you can talk and give prompts about the context of the job, where is it located. You can actually also give prompts about the company, right? And say, look, I want to have this information about the company more integrated in the text. It takes a bit of getting used to, but start experimenting with those prompts, right? Start experimenting with a base text that you can then fine-tune into ChatGPT, and we'll have some examples also of a vacancy text later in the presentation. You can also work on tone of voice, right? And again, we'll show that later. But what you could do also is that, again, and I think that's going to be the next slide, is that if you have in our software built the function for marketing, for digital marketeer, for AY. Based on that information, we actually have built in some prompts. So if you then select, look, I want to push this on Facebook and Instagram, you can then ask ChatGPT, where we've built an API with them, and then we will already prompt them to build a short campaign text based on your company, based on the location, using the company name. So actually we're taking the data you have just entered and actually shooting it to ChatGPT, asking them to write it in a certain way. You can then ask for another example. You can then change the text yourself, but that's showing one. If you get the prompting right, you can actually kind of churn out some good text. So you can either do that every time you're using ChatGPT, or for instance, you could use a software like ours to do so.
Yeah, and I also want to add on it that we have done over more than 9,000 recruitment campaigns for different job functions, and we're also using that data to actually generate good text, to good copy for your campaigns for your specific job function.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe just because I'm keeping an eye out on questions, so please continue to ask questions. Some of them will pick up towards the end, but yes, you can use it in any language. Well, in most languages, it's available. We are giving examples here in English in order to kind of make it understandable, but you can just use it in English, both in ChatGPT or also in our software.
All right. So once you have created your campaign copy, you have to build your creative, your advertisements, your visuals, or your videos. And we are going to share some links to Ads Library and to the Creative Center of TikTok. Aaron, one of my team members, is going to share those links in the chat. So you can have a look over there, because there you can see what other companies are doing with paid recruitment campaigns on those platforms. What is important, you have to look for companies that are competing for your target audience and not competing with your company. So not your competitors, but who is competing for your target audience, because it's a bidding platform and you're bidding against those people. Now, which visuals do you need to use to make recruitment campaigns on social media? Well, we always give as an advice, use authentic pictures. And this is really important. I know you can find stock images on the internet, but people want to know with who they are going to work and where they are going to work. So use your team, make some pictures with your smartphone. Use authentic pictures and make them thumb-stopping, because like I already said, people are scrolling a lot a day, and you need to pop out with your advertisements. Use also uniform communication. What do I mean by that? Well, show your brand, show your logo, show your branding style. Use the same colors, and use the same colors also on your vacancy page, because it needs to be uniform between your advertisements and your vacancy page. And keep the platform in mind. TikTok is another platform than Facebook and Instagram. On TikTok, you can only use videos. So keep that in mind before you're actually going to create your campaign. Like I already said, never ever use stock images. I know they're nice and they're good looking, but it's not authentic enough. We also recommend to not to use lots of text on your visuals, on your advertisement. You can use a section above the visual to write some text with ChatGPT or with our software, but don't put too much text on your visuals. And then also keep in mind the aspect ratio. There you go. That was to see if everybody's still awake. So you know that the feed is different and different aspect ratio than stories and reels. And stories and reels is actually the same as to use videos on TikTok. But keep that in mind if you make pictures, that you can use them on the right placements. Now, let's see how we do this within our software really quickly.
Again, let's build on the same example of, finding a digital marketeer for EY. You have done your campaign text. You then can just upload the logo from your laptop, or these are 2 pictures I found on the website, or 3 pictures I found on the website of EY. And then basically the campaign is ready. So the software will automatically put the logo on the right place. It will put a banner on there with the function title you're looking for. You can then start cropping some of the pictures if you would like to kind of show and highlight a different image of the picture. So all of that can be done within the software. There's no need anymore to start kind of using Photoshop or Canva. Everything can be done within the software. And once you've done that, and that's also the important part, we're running ahead. You have seen there's no tree variants. If you go live, our software will automatically start testing the variants to understand which one is the best version and optimize your campaign without that you have to manage that yourself or take care of that. That will be done all in the background. You just have to approve the campaigns as they are set up here for you. Okay.
All right. Then, of course, when your campaign is ready, you find your target audience, you've created your campaign copy, you have made a nice visual or maybe a video. Then you, of course, need to direct your audience to a specific page, which is, of course, your vacancy page. Now, before we go a bit deeper into the ChatGPT, how to write with ChatGPT a vacancy page, I just want to point out what we recommend, some advices. Keep it short and simple. The KISS principle, it needs to be scannable because most people are looking at social media on their mobile. So they don't want to scroll a lot to read your vacancy page. Make sure you highlight some words, use bullet points, don't use like long texts, etc. Make it short. Then, of course, keep in mind who your audience is. Is it a junior profile? Then maybe your tone of voice will be a bit more for junior people. When you need a senior audience, then you can also adapt the tone of voice of your copy for those profiles. And the last one, which I want to point out, is make it fun. People are scrolling in their spare time on social media, and if they click on your advertisements, then they want to read something fun. And I think the application process needs to be fun. So add some emojis, maybe use colors, use pictures as well on your vacancy page, so people know that if they click on your ads, they come to the right page and they don't click away immediately. And then, of course, if you're writing your vacancy page, think also about all the requirements and what are the necessary requirements and what is maybe more nice to have. And think about what's in it for the candidate, because I know there is a war of talent at the moment. So think about what makes my company unique or what makes my offer to them unique.
Yeah, very good. Maybe to kind of run ahead, because now we're just going to try and show how I think the video will not start yet. That's good. Mm-hmm. Again, this is the interface of ChatGPT. I'm just going to pick up some of the questions. There was a good question from Lean on, is it possible that ChatGPT, when given the same prompts, will build the same text as for other vacancies? Yes and no. Of course, if you use exactly the same prompts, there's always statistically a chance that is the case. But that's why you should use prompts about your company, about the background, give it as much information as you can, right? In order to make sure that the text is unique. We'll give an example here. Actually, we'll start building on that. And then, Gail, we're going to come back on your question on SEO later. But this is, again, we're giving ChatGPT the request to write a vacancy text. You can see it at the bottom for a digital marketeer for EY in Brussels. We continue using the same example. And just with like that, it will start churning out text. And you can see that, it will actually already kind of refer to EY as Ernst & Young, because it probably found online that's the original name of EY. It will build some, because you've asked for a vacancy, it will start building a structure because, as it has seen for how most vacancies are built. And in this case, and again, this is a good example, it will ask at the bottom, please send your resume and cover letter to the email address provided. Why is that? Because of all the vacancies it has scraped, it knows that's what most people do. Not everybody is using an ATS or an online system. So this is a good example of, it's a good text, but it lacks a bit of spirit. It lacks a bit of your own specific items, which is again something we tried to sort out with the software, warehouse software. In this case, you can just ask it to also create the software. You can put a little text, and now I just copied the text from the EY website. I assumed that they have great colleagues. It's an international company. I made some educated guesses about what's important for people working there, work-life balance, and I want it in an enthusiastic tone of voice. What you can then see is that it will start writing text, and again, you could give those prompts also in the standard GPT environment, but it's obviously a lot easier if you can do it here, because we have kind of built the prompting environment to make sure we get the best out of the system. And what you can see here, I'm not sure if we can pause it, but for instance, it has made emphasis on work life. I'm just going to go back. Let's see if that works. Let's go here. Yeah, and it's pause. Can you put on pause?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
No, don't think so. But I mean, yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
Let's go back. But you can see it actually had built onto the text of, I'm just going to try it again, sorry. Now it's important because it shows the power of, where's the mouse? There it is. I found it. There you go. Hoppa. So if you can look at the 3 most important points, and what our software will do, it will take those points and highlight them on top of the vacancy. So it has actually built text on the prompts, emphasis on work-life balance for overall well-being. That's what it made based on the work-life balance. It has basically elaborated on the input that has been given. Again, you can do that by prompting within ChatGPT, because, but you kind of need to start understanding how those prompts work, or you could use the software here. There was a question from Luigi. We don't integrate yet. Well, yes and no, Luigi, on the integration with the systems. I'll get in touch with you and explain on which systems we do integrate, but it is possible to link it and to the system you're currently working with. Okay.
All right.
That's about the development, I think.
Yes. Then once you've created your campaign and you have some media budget because you're doing paid recruitment campaigns, then of course you need to manage your campaign. And there is some things you need to keep in mind to actually do a good management of your campaign and to get the most results out of it. I already talked about A/B testing. Let's do some polls maybe. Here you can see a campaign of Brussels Airport. You can see that we were looking for a functional title, électricien, and an electrician, indeed. I was looking for the word. And we have made the same copy, the same function title, same logo, but a different visual. And I want to know which one do you think that worked best to target electricians?
We have some people, okay. Oh, there's a clear preference for the picture on the left.
Okay.
Surprising. So without people in the picture, yes, 96% of people think the one on the left is. Sorry, the one on the right. Apologies. Yeah, left and right is kind of, it's a bit complicated for me. The one on the right, obviously.
You should ask ChatGPT. Well, that's what we thought as well, because normally pictures with employees on it work better. But in this case, we saw that the one on the left actually worked better. We had more applications, 7 applications, and the cost which we paid per application, so for one application, was cheaper than the one on the right. Besides visuals, you can also test function titles. For example, here, Neuhaus was looking for a maintenance supervisor, and they were thinking about maybe we should go with maintenance supervisor or with team leader maintenance. Which one do you think that worked best? I don't know if everybody knows Neuhaus, but Neuhaus is a really famous, best Belgian chocolate brand.
They make some pretty good chocolate, yes.
Yeah.
As many people do in Belgium. And here, and I will double check before I give the answer. So the most people I've chosen for the picture on the right, which is team leader, maintenance, 60% of people think that was winning.
That was actually true. So we put them both live, and we saw that there were a lot more applications with the picture on the right, and the cost which we paid per application was also cheaper. Then a last one maybe to round up. You can also test the platform. So for example, here you have the same advertisement on Instagram feed and on Facebook feed. You see that the layout is a bit different, but that's how the platforms work. Which one do you think that worked best, Instagram or Facebook? It was for Tom & Co. They were looking for a sales manager in Wallonia.
And the learning is dogs always work well on advertising.
That's true.
That's, some free tip here. You don't have to go to the academy. We just give that away for free.
Dogs and babies.
Dogs and babies, yes. Well, this is very close, 49.51. So I don't need well. The winner is the one, 52%, the one on the right. So Facebook.
All right. That's actually true, but we were very surprised with the results. You can see that on Facebook feed, we had 76 applications, while on Instagram, there were only 2 applications, and the cost per application was really, really cheap. On Instagram and on Facebook, it was ridiculously cheap. So we had lots of clicks on that advertisement. Now,
so if possible, just put a dog into your advertising. That's and make it as cheap as possible. And maybe, or I'm not sure if I can pick up on that. You could also do this for text, right? You could, for instance, test a campaign written by ChatGPT versus the one written by your agency or the one you have written yourself. So you can actually kind of, be as wild as you can. But I think it might be, or, compare a vacancy written by ChatGPT with the vacancy written by the copywriter from a landing page perspective. That's a bit more complicated to set up, but you can kind of be very creative in understanding what works best in doing so.
All right. Now, what is important if you're doing a B test, then you need to keep an eye on all the metrics that come in. And here you can see a dashboard which we use in our software. Our clients have access to it as well. You can see all the ad variations, so the different ads that we run. You can see the spend, you can see the visits, the clicks, and the applications. And you can also, we're very transparent with it. If you want to pause your campaign, you can immediately do so. So all the data comes together. And I'm showing this because if you're doing it yourself, you can also do it, but then you need to have the Facebook pixel in place, the Google Analytics in Tech Manager, all the coding you need to have in place before you can actually run good campaigns on the Meta platform or on TikTok.
Yeah, and there's 2 simultaneous questions coming at exactly the same time. So we've never had this. Both Sandra and Joram have asked, what is the quality of the applications? Or maybe Sandra has 2 accounts running, so she can ask the question twice to make sure they're noticed. I think, well, do you want to take that question, Steph?
Yeah, so when candidates come into our software, then the client can actually move them to interesting, or they can end the procedure for them. And then our algorithm will know, okay, those profiles that are interesting, I'm going to show the advertisement more to those kind of people. So we're taking also, how do you say it?
The results, we take the results into account.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we couldn't, from the top of our heads, tell you whether the quality of the applications on Instagram were better than Facebook. We would have to look into the data for that. But if you would use our software, you would be able to measure that and look and take some learnings from that. There was another question from Lizette, just because again, I think it's important to explain the A/B testing, whether the sales manager for Tom & Co, we tested that in relation to different devices. What's important in A/B test is you will always take the same placement. So it's a very good point. We will, in this case, compare mobile with mobile, which to be honest is 95% of the traffic anyway, right? But it is indeed important then, if you do an A/B test, you have one variable which is different than all the other variables, time of day, placement, device, call to action, everything else should be the same.
All right.
And then maybe just picking up on a question from Gail on does ChatGPT score better SEO-wise? I think it's a good question. I think it's a bit too early to say, right? I think you can probably prompt it. Obviously, there's the different schools of thoughts on what works better from an SEO perspective. It's having keywords. You can probably say, use this word a couple of times. But I also think that probably Google will catch up on that also. So I wouldn't use it as your sole benchmark for SEO. Okay.
All right.
Let's continue.
Yes. So just to rephrase everything, if you're doing online recruitment campaigns, you can, of course, use ChatGPT for it, well, for some parts of it. But here you can see that it's not only writing, it's a lot of other aspects as well.
Yeah, and maybe just kind of to come back, because we've talked about these three elements of AI. I think what's important is that, and not just our software, is that in this case, yes, we use ChatGPT as a generative AI, but there's also different other elements where we use machine learning, for instance, to optimize the budgets, so we can know what is working best, where are the best candidates coming from, building the campaign. That's also where, and that's what we call the Sarah system, the simple AI recruiting assistance that we have built as kind of a black box into the software to help you, not just with ChatGPT, but to use AI to manage the whole system. And maybe to kind of briefly explain, because of this, right, all the different elements that you have seen, that you have taken into account, all of that is actually done by our software. Now even writing the text is a thing of the past, right? The only thing you have to do is set up the campaign, and we'll do that in a second, as we promised. And we'll go live. There's just one question here from Lisette. Oh yeah, that's interesting, Lisette, that you, as I understand correctly, you choose the placement on desktop specifically to increase your chances to apply. It's a very good test. I think we've run some of those in the past. The problem is, of course, that even if it works best, there's so few people now using desktop, so you limit, of course, your total reach, I would guess, which would then make it more expensive on a CPM perspective, on a cost per 1,000 impressions, because your starting audience is quite small. But I think for sure it's a great idea to test. And yes, Elke, you can export candidates, not in an Excel, in a CSV file, but a CSV file can be important into most ATS systems, or even in Excel, should you want to use that. Okay, I think just before kind of picking up on the other questions, we'll just show you maybe in a couple of minutes, and I'll go live now. And then we'll see. So what we're going to do now is just kind of repeat and show you actually in 3 minutes. We're just going to do, as we promised, shops@tvh.com. We'll invent a name saying, Rita McTester, right? And it's with TVH. And then I'll just take a password. And maybe ask the audience, what kind of function would you start looking for? So you can put a...
let's see.
You can just put a function name. What do you think people at TVH, which is a company building machine parts and supplying machine parts, what kind of question, what kind of company vacancy would they be looking for? Maintenance technician. All right, let's do that. Get started. And as before, right, so we're going to do the targeting first. We've already put the brand name here. And from all the possible options, our system has already deducted that probably we should go for a technician and use that cluster of data. Let's do this. Let's go, let's do it in English, because most people will start English. And I think, if I remember correctly, they are based in Waregem in West Flanders. We'll do safe. Are you timing this, Stephanie?
I'm not timing this.
Okay, but
no.
Let's just choose. I think we're now 30 seconds in.
Okay.
Let's choose Facebook, Instagram. Let's ask the system to generate a text for maintenance technician. You can see it popping up here, which is a global company. That's very true. They are very global. And they are an elevator. That's nice. This is nice. Why? Because they also make outdoor elevators and cranes. So it's actually kind of making a wordplay. You will see that more and more. It's starting to use humor in the text. We'll then select the logo. This I prepared. Okay, I kind of downloaded the TVH logo and I downloaded 2 pictures from their website. Let's see, let's upload those pictures. There they are. And then the advertising is ready. So the logo is in the right place. It's also using the base color of the logo as the logo for the text we have put on there. You could obviously, if you would want that, you could change all the colors, you could change the fonts. You can, as we've shown before, you can change the cropping of the pictures here. That's, I think that's a good cropping. And this we might change to that. And then we will do the same for the vacancy page. Again, I found a little text on TVH. Where is it? I actually thought I just copied something here. No, let's, oops, sorry, let's do that again. Vacancy page. Let's go here. Tag. Let's take the text. Oh, that's interesting. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's say they're looking for great colleagues. I think interesting technology. Yeah. And what else would they like?
Team buildings.
Team building.
Maybe also a company car.
Okay, let's put that. That's one of the benefits, very tangible benefits for them. Let's write that in an enthusiastic way and generate the text. And again, here you can see it's building on the prompts we have given, right? And it's making a nice combination of existing text and what does TVH expect of you? What can offer? Driving style with a company car, work with cutting-edge technology to enhance your skills. So it's very spot on, right?
I actually didn't know that the emoticons are also chosen as a word.
Yes,
before.
true.
Like company car is also a car. Yeah.
There you go. It's even better than we thought.
Yeah, indeed.
And then basically, we're not going to add any other questions. Their campaign is ready to be published. You just have to choose the budget. And once you click on continue here, you will be sent to, now you can still have to give your company, just kind of put a number in there. And then you'll be sent to Stripe in order to pay for the budget. And once you do that, so these are the advertising budget you have, you want to spend, your campaign will go live. You cannot make it easier than that. I realize we're almost at the end of the webinar, so we're going to hold for the Carrefour Italy. We're going to put that on hold. We're just going to run through the last questions.
I'm
here.
just going to share my screen. Maybe
yes.
you can stop sharing again.
I'll stop sharing here.
So we're also going to share the link again from our academy and from our software as well. Let me see. Oops. There you go.
So, question from Mike: does the tool support Facebook lead ads as a campaign strategy? We don't use lead ads because for Facebook and Meta. We do use it for TikTok, I think.
Yeah, we do use it for TikTok. We experimented with traffic and conversion campaigns on the TikTok platform, and we saw that lead generation campaigns were working better. Of course, you need to keep in mind that you have a conversion loss because they're giving their details and you have a lead, but then you need to get to an application as well. So you need to email them, you need to phone them to actually get their resume or an application form.
Yeah, a very interesting question from Edward about, look, if we're bound by corporate communications guidelines that restrict and design of your content. This is a discussion we have with several of our customers. And I think what's very important there is that you need to find the right balance between performance of the ad, because if you kind of have to follow all the guidelines of your company, we saw that unfortunately this limits the impact of your advertising and the performance. That's why we work with certain templates. We allow you to adapt the colors of the template in your corporate colors. There's some adaptations you can make, but we would strongly suggest using the templates because that's what we know is working. That's what we know is going to optimize the performance of your advertising.
But I mean, we have clients that are restricted and they give us their pictures and they give us their videos.
Of course, you can do that, and you can also, for instance, say, look, I'm going to make the ad, I'm going to adapt it within our software, or then you drop the banner, you drop all your elements. It's perfectly possible, but I would still at least suggest to do an A/B test, right? Use our template, test it versus your corporate guidelines, and look at what delivers the better solution. Okay, good. Let's have a look. And I think, yes, there's Sally, who's a very happy customer, I think. So thanks, Sally, for proposing that. I'm going back into the questions and checking if there's some other we haven't yet tackled. Please, again, we're here. So ask questions. There's a question from Thibault earlier. Are paid campaigns an added value for recruitment agencies?
Well, actually, I would say yes. We have some clients that are recruitment agencies and that are using our tool themselves. So they set up their campaigns themselves within our tools. And they get influx by paid recruitment campaigns. Yes.
I think what we also notice, and I understand, because there's quite a bit of staffing agencies also in the video call. I know for people working on a no cure, no pay model, it's always more difficult to kind of pay for advertising costs upfront without knowing that you're going to have the candidates to sign with your client. That's why most of our recruitment customers are actually working on exclusivity, or they can actually transfer to media. That's one of the issues. So we have with some recruitment agencies. The second one is also, and that's even more important, is that most recruitment agencies, because of the way they're set up, they cannot mention their end customer or the employer. And then you have to do, you want to work in the Antwerp Harbor for a logistic company. That's never as strong as saying, do you want to work for TVH or do you want to work for Port of Antwerp? And that's also one of the reasons why it's less effective for some of those advertisements. So the more you can tell about the actual function, the easier it will be to convince passive candidates, because those are the ones you want to convince. The other ones you can reach through Indeed and Stepstone. If you want to reach the passive candidates, you have to be as concrete as possible. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and we haven't talked a lot about LinkedIn, and I just want to give you the reason why, because we're not really convinced that it still works for paid recruitment campaigns to find your right talent. It's really, really expensive, first thing, but second thing, we receive more applications and good applications from Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So I know lots of recruiters are on LinkedIn searching for the right talent. But the passive candidates are more on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe just building on that, and thank I don't know. There's already apparently some people already testing out the tool. Lisette is saying, "I'm testing the tool. Any advice on how to target students?" I think what's important there is to kind of use that in your creative. Right, Steph?
Yeah, but I would also recommend to look at what are the students have to do at your company. So if they are going to do lots of calls or if they're going to write social media campaigns, then look for functions like digital marketeer and call agents within our tool. So look about what they're going to do to choose the right job function, because that we are going to use to target the right students.
Exactly. Okay, let's just see. There's some questions still coming in. Caroline has to go. We're sorry to see you go, Caroline, but thank you for staying and sticking till the end. There's still quite a bunch of people in there. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, it looks like we're exactly 3 o'clock, Stephanie.
Oof, nice.
We should get an award for time management and for many other things.
Yeah.
And again, please, I mean, you have the links. Please use the promotion. You can we'll top up your media budget with 10% if you set up a campaign before the end of the month. Or, and that's a different link, you can book a meeting with either me or Stephanie to look at your campaign for 15 minutes and get our feedback. And thank you for all the very nice thank yous. Well done, Stephanie.
Yeah, you too, Mark.
I was kind of getting to that point.
Yeah,
wanted to get a little compliment there. Okay.
If you still have, let's see, if you still have some questions within the next couple of days after registering, of course, in our software, then you can still ask us some questions within LinkedIn or within our chatbot in our software. We're really happy to help you, and we're looking forward to seeing your first recruitment campaign online, whether it's within our tool or not. So really happy to have you here. I think it was a nice interactive webinar, and I hope to see you again in one of our next webinars. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes.